I mean, succession is working, I guess. So, in 1974, one of AERO's founders, Kai Cochran, was a staff member at Northern Plains Resource Council, and she was focusing on renewable energy. And she and Elizabeth, my partner, and I, and some other people, including Ann Charter of Northern Plains Resource Council, decided to put together the Montana Alternative Energy Conference in Billings. And we had it up at what used to be Eastern Montana College, now it's Montana State Billings. And we were astonished, actually, that not only did we get a large population of people, a lot of people came. A lot of them from Montana, but there were people that came from all over the country because no one had ever done anything like this before. There were renewable energy, particularly solar energy, professional organizations and stuff like that, but nobody had ever kind of done a citizens meeting like that. So it was so successful that that was in May 1974. Northern Plains sponsored it, and it was held by the Humanities Council, now called Humanities Montana, which meant that we had to have not just technicians coming in, but we had to have humanists, I guess you could say, talk about the meaning of all this, right? Which actually I thought was a very, it worked well. It broadened the audience a lot. Okay. A month after that, it was such a successful conference that 9 of us, a couple by phone and 7 in person, gathered in a house that was occupied by many of the young staff members of Northern Plains Resource Council, right? And we founded AERO. The 9 founders were Kai Cochran, whom I mentioned, who now is kind of back home in New England with her husband and 3 kids running a farm. Ann Charter, who was sort of our godmother, I think, who died a few years ago. Al Rutan, who was a methane enthusiast, not the kind you mine from the ground, but the kind you produce from waste. Another methane enthusiast, George Oberst. 2 Billings people, one a media person who had been involved in filming the event, Ken Taylor, and Terry Matheson, who was with the Billings Chamber of Commerce. And then, I think I've named everybody but the last 3 who are here. And I'd like them to stand up. John Brown, please stand. John's one of the original. John came to the conference, but he was an organic grain farmer from Circle. And then Elizabeth Wood, if you would please stand up. Thank you. So that's how we got founded. And we kind of had an immediate audience for people who had attended that conference. And we started off doing a lot of hands-on workshops and various things. And I guess we sort of took it from there. The AERO at the time was, kind of advocating energy conservation and renewable energy. but we had a lot of farmers and ranchers who were members. And we made a lot of progress in the 1970s. We had a traveling energy show that did 2 state tours and summer tours of Montana in 1976, 1977, and later evolved into doing focus tours and then worked with schools. It was called the New Western Energy Show, so that was a branch of AERO. And but when Ronald Reagan moved into the White House, he took down the solar collectors that the previous president, Jimmy Carter, had put up on the White House. And funding for renewable energy is pretty much dried up from you know, kind of some of the sources, not just government, but, you know, foundations. So AERO's always been a grassroots organization. And part of our grassroots were farmers and ranchers who wanted to move to sustainable agriculture. So our focus shifted then. AERO's focus shifted then. And it took us quite a few years, actually, to come back to energy as a serious focus for AERO. But in the meantime, we had that conference that Miguel Altieri spoke at in Bozeman in '84. And AERO became a pioneer in sustainable ag and in local foods, right? Back about 2000, a group of older AERO hands, I guess, decided we better re-up our energy focus. And so we met for a long time, several years, and in 2007 we published a book called Repowering Montana, a blueprint for homegrown energy self-reliance. And we're arguing that we could handle all our energy needs in-state, actually, with renewable energy eventually, and electricity probably right away, if you count the dams as renewable energy. And so I think the last thing I have to say is that AERO is a bird with 2 wings. One is the agriculture part and one is the energy wing, okay? And I think to be a real relevant and effective organization, we have to make sure that both those wings are healthy and flapping. So that's it.